Captain Jake Miller ran through the crystal halls of the Zephyrian Palace. His heavy boots made loud sounds on the smooth floor. Time was running out. In his hands, he carried a small metal box that could save a life. The Zephyrian child was dying. The doctors on his ship, the USS Liberty, had worked for hours to make the medicine. Now Jake had to get it to the Royal Medical Center before it was too late. Jake had been to many alien worlds, but this one was different. The Zephyrians looked like giant insects with smooth, shiny skin. They were smart and had built amazing cities. Their technology was far better than anything humans had ever seen. 3 days ago, Jake's ship had arrived at the Zephyrian home world. It was the first time humans and Zephyrians would meet as friends. The meeting was very important. Both sides wanted to work together, but they had to be careful. One mistake could ruin everything. Dr. Lisa Carter, the ship's alien expert, had warned Jake about Zephyrian customs. "They are very polite," she had said, "but they have many rules. We must follow them exactly." The palace was huge and confusing. Jake looked at the small device in his pocket that was supposed to guide him. The screen showed a map, but all the halls looked the same. Crystal walls reflected his image back at him from every direction. Behind him, Lieutenant Ben Murphy tried to keep up. "Captain, are you sure this is the right way?" Ben asked, breathing hard. "The map says the medical center is just ahead," Jake replied, but he was not completely sure. The Zephyrian writing on the doors was hard to read, even with the translation device. They had been running for 10 minutes. The Zephyrian guide, who was supposed to help them, had fallen behind. Jake could not wait. Every second mattered. The child, named Crixtel, had been hurt in an accident. The Zephyrian doctors had done their best, but they needed a special enzyme that only humans could make. Jake's medical team had worked all night to create it. Jake stopped at a large door. The symbols on it looked right. "This should be it," he said to Ben. Without waiting, he pushed the door open and ran inside. The room was not a medical center. Jake stopped so fast that Ben almost crashed into him. The room was beautiful, with walls that seemed to glow with soft blue light. Strange plants grew in corners, and the air smelled like flowers. In the center of the room stood a Zephyrian female, but she was not wearing anything. Jake had never seen a Zephyrian without their usual robes. Her skin was not the hard, shiny surface he expected. Instead, it looked soft and new, like a butterfly that had just come out of its cocoon. Her body was covered in patterns that seemed to move and change color in the light. The female turned to look at Jake. Her large, dark eyes went wide with shock. For a moment, neither of them moved. Jake realized he had made a terrible mistake. This was not the medical center. This was a private room, and he had walked in on someone who was clearly doing something very personal. "I'm sorry," Jake said quickly. "I was looking for the medical center. I have medicine for the child." He held up the metal box, hoping she would understand. The female continued to stare at him. Her skin patterns changed from blue to purple to gold. Jake did not know what this meant, but he could tell she was very surprised. Ben stood frozen in the doorway. "Captain," he whispered, "I think we should leave." But before Jake could move, the female spoke. Her voice was musical, like the sound of wind chimes. The translation device in Jake's ear worked to change her words into English. "You have seen me in the sacred state," she said. Her voice was not angry, but it sounded strange, almost afraid. Jake did not understand. "Sacred state? I'm sorry, I don't know what that means," I just need to find the medical center. The female's skin patterns became brighter. You do not know what you have done? I made a mistake, Jake said. I came into the wrong room. I'm really sorry. Other voices could be heard in the hall outside. The Zephyrian guide had finally caught up, along with several guards. Jake heard them talking quickly in their own language. The female looked at Jake with an expression he could not read. You are the human captain? Yes. Captain Jake Miller. And you are? I am Princess Kira Thel Vex, heir to the Zephyrian throne. Jake felt his heart sink. Not only had he walked in on someone in a private moment, but it was the most important person in the entire empire. The whole peace mission could be ruined because of his mistake. Your Highness, Jake said, trying to remember. The proper way to address royalty. I apologize deeply. I was trying to save a child's life and I got lost. The princess looked at the metal box in his hands. The medicine for young Crixtel? Yes. The doctor said there is not much time. Princess Kirathel moved toward a wall and touched it. Clothing appeared from hidden compartments. As she dressed, she kept looking at Jake with those strange dark eyes. You risk everything to save one of our children? She asked. That's what we do, Jake said simply. We help when we can. The guards entered the room, along with Dr. Carter and the Zephyrian guide. Everyone started talking at once. Jake could see that Dr. Carter looked very worried. Princess Kirathel raised one of her hands and everyone became quiet. The human captain has medicine for the child. Take him to the medical center now. As the guards escorted Jake out of the room, he heard the princess talking quietly to one of her advisors. The words the translation device gave him did not make much sense. Something about soul witness and ancient law. Jake delivered the medicine just in time. The Zephyrian doctors were able to save young Crixtel's life. But as Jake walked back through the palace halls, he could not stop thinking about the strange look in the princess's eyes. He had no idea that his simple mistake had just changed the fate of two entire species. The next morning, Jake woke up to urgent knocking on his door. Ben Murphy stood outside, looking worried. Captain, we have a problem, Ben said. Dr. Carter needs to see you right away. The Zephyrians are acting strange. Jake got dressed quickly and followed Ben to the meeting room. Dr. Carter was there with several papers spread on the table. Her face was pale. Jake, we're in trouble, she said without saying hello. Big trouble. What happened? Jake asked, sitting down. I spent all night talking to Zephyrian scholars about what happened yesterday, Dr. Carter explained. When you walked into that room, you didn't just make a simple mistake. What do you mean? Dr. Carter picked up one of the papers. The princess was molting. Do you know what that means? Jake shook his head. Zephyrians shed their entire outer skin every 7 years, Dr. Carter said. It's not just physical, it's spiritual too. They believe it's when their soul is most open and pure. Okay, Jake said slowly. So I walked in at a bad time. It's worse than that. Much worse. Dr. Carter looked at her notes. According to their ancient laws, if someone sees a royal family member during molting, that person becomes what they call a soul witness. Ben frowned. What does that mean? It means, Dr. Carter said, that according to Zephyrian law, Captain Miller is now engaged to marry Princess Kirathel. Jake felt like someone had hit him in the stomach. What? The soul witness bond is considered the strongest possible connection between two people, Dr. Carter continued. It hasn't happened in over 300 years. And it has never happened with an alien. This is crazy, Jake said. I was just trying to help a sick child. I know, Dr. Carter said. But the Zephyrian High Council doesn't see it that way. Half of them think it's a miracle. The other half think it's an insult to their entire culture. Before anyone could say more, the room's communication system made a sound. Commander Helen Torres appeared on the screen. She was calling from the USS Liberty. Captain Miller, she said. I need to know what's happening down there. We're getting some very strange messages from the Zephyrian government. Jake told her everything that had happened. Commander Torres listened without speaking. When he finished, she was quiet. For a long moment. Captain, this could destroy the entire peace mission, she finally said. I'm getting reports that the Zephyrian military is preparing for something. General Vorthak has been meeting with his officers all night. General Vorthak was the leader of the Zephyrian military. From the beginning, he had not wanted peace with humans. He thought humans were too dangerous and unpredictable. What are my orders, Commander? Jake asked. For now, do nothing. Don't agree to anything, but don't refuse anything either. I'm sending down more diplomatic staff to help. The screen went dark. Jake looked at Dr. Carter and Ben. Any ideas? Before anyone could answer, a Zephyrian guard entered the room. Captain Miller, the High Council requests your presence immediately. The council chamber was enormous. 12 Zephyrian elders sat, in a circle around a raised platform. Their skin was darker and more wrinkled than younger Zephyrians. Some of them had been alive for over 200 years. Princess Kirathel stood to one side of the chamber. She looked different than she had the day before. Her skin patterns seemed more complex, and she moved with a new grace. Jake walked to the center of the platform. The translation device in his ear worked hard to keep up with the different Zephyrian voices. An elder with silver markings on her forehead spoke first. Human Captain, you have created a situation that has never existed before. I understand that, Jake replied. I want to fix whatever damage I've caused. Damage, another elder said. Some would say you have brought great honor to our princess. And others would say you have violated our most sacred traditions, said a third elder. This one had red markings, and Jake could tell he was not friendly. General Vorthak entered the chamber. He was larger than most Zephyrians with dark armored skin. He looked at Jake with obvious dislike. Honored elders, General Vorthak said. This incident proves that humans cannot be trusted. They have no respect for our ways. That's not true, Jake said. I made a mistake, but it was honest. I was trying to save a life. So you say, the general replied. But how do we know this was not planned? How do we know you did not enter the princess's chamber on purpose? Princess Kirathel stepped forward. General, I was there. I saw his reaction. He was as surprised as I was. Princess, with respect, you were in a vulnerable state, the general said. You may not have seen. Clearly, Jake felt anger rising in his chest. Are you calling me a liar? The chamber became very quiet. Dr. Carter had warned Jake that challenging someone's honor was a serious thing among Zephyrians. General Vorthak's skin patterns darkened. I am calling you an alien who does not understand the sacred nature of what he has witnessed. Maybe I don't understand everything about your culture, Jake said, but I understand right and wrong. Saving a child's life was right. If that caused problems, I'm sorry, but I won't apologize for doing what was right. One of the elders made a sound that the translator called approval humming. Others made different sounds. The silver-marked elder spoke again. "Captain Miller, do you understand what the soul witness bond means?" "Dr. Carter explained it to me," Jake said. "But I don't understand why seeing someone during molting creates such a strong connection." Princess Kirathel answered. "During molting, we are defenseless. Our old skin falls away and our new skin is soft and weak. In ancient times, enemies would attack during molting because we could not fight back. So the soul witness tradition started as protection?" Jake asked. "Yes," the princess said. "If someone saw you during molting and did not harm you, it meant they could be trusted completely. It meant they saw you at your weakest and chose to protect rather than attack." Jake began to understand. And that's why it creates such a strong bond. "The strongest possible bond," confirmed the silver-marked elder. "Traditionally, soul witnesses become life partners. They are considered two parts of one soul." "But I'm human," Jake said. "How can human and Zephyrian souls be connected?" "That is the question we must answer," said another elder. "Our laws do not speak of aliens. We do not know if the bond can exist between different species." General Vorthak stepped forward again. "Honored elders, I propose we declare this incident invalid. Humans are not bound by our spiritual laws." "But if the bond is real," said the silver-marked elder, "then breaking it would bring great harm to the princess." "And if it is not real," added another elder, "then our laws are meaningless." Princess Kirathel looked directly at Jake. "There is only one way to know for certain." "What way?" Jake asked. "We must test the bond," she said. "Ancient law provides for the trial of understanding. If the soul witness can prove his worth and his connection to the princess, then the bond is real." "And if he fails?" General Vorthak asked. "Then the bond is broken and both sides return to their previous lives," the princess answered. The silver-marked elder nodded slowly. "The trial of understanding has not been used in over 100 years, but the law is clear. Captain Miller, do you accept this trial?" Jake looked around the chamber. He could see that this was his only choice. If he refused, it would insult the Zephyrians and probably end the peace talks. If he accepted, he might fail and face unknown consequences. But he also saw something else. In Princess Kirathel's eyes, he saw hope. She wanted him to accept. "I accept," Jake said, the chamber filled with the sound of approval, humming, and worried clicking. General Vorthak's skin patterns became very dark. "The trial will begin." "Tomorrow at dawn," announced the silver-marked elder. "May wisdom guide us all." As Jake left the chamber, he wondered what he had just agreed to do. Ben and Dr. Carter were waiting for him outside. "Well?" Dr. Carter asked. "I'm going to take some kind of trial," Jake said, "to prove the soul witness. Bond is real." "What happens if you fail?" Ben asked. Jake looked back at the chamber doors. "I guess we'll find out." Jake could not sleep that night. He walked around his room, thinking about the trial that would start at dawn. Dr. Carter had found some old books about Zephyrian traditions, but they did not have much information about the trial of understanding. Amritas. Trial has 3 parts, Dr. Carter had told him. The Maze of Mirrors, the Hunt of Shadows, and the Debate of Stars. But I don't know what any of those actually mean. Ben had offered to help in any way he could, but the trial had to be taken alone. Jake would have no weapons, no technology, and no friends to help him. When the sun began to rise, Zephyrian guards came to get Jake. They led him to a part of the palace he had never seen before. The walls here were older and covered with ancient symbols. Princess Kirathel was waiting for him in a large courtyard. She wore simple white robes, and her skin patterns seemed calmer than they had been the day before. "Captain Miller," she said, "before the trial begins, I must tell you something important." "What is it?" "If you fail any part of the trial, the sole witness bond will be considered false. This means that my people will believe humans cannot be trusted. The peace talks will end." Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. "And if I succeed, then the bond will be proven real, and our species will be connected in a way that has never happened before." The High Council elders arrived, along with General Vorthak and many other Zephyrians. Jake could see Dr. Carter and Ben watching from a balcony above. The silver-marked elder spoke. "Captain Miller, the trial of understanding will test 3 things: your mind, your courage, and your connection to Princess Kirathel. Are you ready?" "I'm ready," Jake said, though he did not feel ready at all. The first trial was called the Maze of Mirrors. The guards led Jake to a building that looked like it was made entirely of glass. Inside, there were hundreds of mirrors creating a confusing maze of reflections. "You must reach the center of the maze," explained an elder. "But beware, the mirrors will show you things that are not real. You must stay true to yourself." Jake entered the maze. Immediately, he saw himself reflected in dozens of mirrors. But as he walked deeper into the maze, the reflections began to change. In one mirror, he saw himself as a Zephyrian, with shiny skin and insect-like features. In another, he saw himself as a child, crying and afraid. A third mirror showed him as an old man, alone and forgotten. The reflection spoke to him. "You do not belong here," said one. "You are making a mistake," said another. "The princess will never truly accept you," said a third. Jake tried to ignore the voices, but they became louder and more convincing. One mirror showed him his life on Earth, with a human wife and children he might never have if he stayed connected to the princess. For a moment, Jake stopped walking. Maybe the mirrors were right. Maybe he should give up and go home. Then he remembered something. The day before, when he had delivered the medicine to save young Crixtel, he had seen the joy in the Zephyrian parents' eyes. It was the same joy any human parent would feel. Love was the same, no matter what species you were. Jake stopped looking at the mirrors and started feeling his way along the walls. He realized that the maze was not about what he could see, but about what he could feel. Following the walls with his hands, he found his way to the center much faster. In the center was a simple pool of clear water. When Jake looked into it, he saw his own reflection, unchanged and honest. "First trial complete," announced an elder's voice. The second trial was the Hunt of Shadows. Jake was taken to a thick forest near the palace. The trees were tall and dark, blocking out most of the sunlight. "In this forest lives a creature called a shadow stalker," explained the elder. "You must capture it and bring it back alive. You may use only traditional Zephyrian hunting tools." The guards gave Jake a net, a rope, and a small knife. The knife was not for killing, they explained, but for cutting through thick plants. Jake had never hunted anything like this before. On Earth, he had gone fishing and had learned to track animals during his military training. But this was different. He started by looking for signs of the creature. The ground was soft, and he could see tracks that looked like a cross between bird claws and human hands. The tracks were small, but they went in all directions. Jake followed the tracks for an hour without seeing anything. Then he heard a sound behind him. When he turned around, he saw a flash of movement in the shadows. The shadow stalker was about the size of a house cat, but it moved like liquid darkness. It seemed to disappear and reappear among the trees. Jake realized that trying to chase the creature would be impossible. It was too fast and knew the forest too well. He needed to think like a human, not like a Zephyrian. Humans were not the fastest or strongest hunters, but they were the smartest. Jake studied the creature's behavior. It seemed curious about him, coming close and then running away. Jake sat down and stayed very still. He put some food from his pocket on the ground near him. Then he waited. After a long time, the shadow stalker came closer. It was beautiful, with fur that seemed to change color in the light. It looked at Jake with large, intelligent eyes. Jake did not move even when the creature came close enough to touch. Finally, the shadow stalker took the food. While it was eating, Jake slowly put the net over it. The creature did not fight. It seemed to understand that Jake meant no harm. "Second trial complete," said the elder when Jake returned with the shadow stalker. "The creature will be released unharmed." The third trial was the debate of stars. Jake was brought to a room with Princess Kirathel. They sat across from each other at a table covered with star charts and ancient books. "This trial is different," explained the silver-marked elder. "You must work together to solve the riddle of the eternal question. This riddle has been unsolved for over 500 years. The elder read from an old book. "Two minds that see the same stars, but from different worlds, must find the point where all paths meet. What is the answer that every question seeks?" Jake looked at the star charts. They showed the positions of stars as seen from different planets. Princess Kirathel began pointing to various constellations. "From Zephyria, we see the great hunter in the north," she said. "From your Earth, what do you see in the same direction?" "We call it the Big Dipper," Jake replied. "But we see it differently than you do. They work together for hours comparing how their two species saw the same stars." Jake began to understand something important. Every species looked at the universe and tried to make sense of it, but they all saw different patterns. "Wait," Jake said suddenly. "What if the answer isn't about the stars at all?" "What do you mean?" the princess asked. "The riddle says the answer that every question seeks. Every species asks the same basic questions, right? Who are we? Why are we here? Are we alone?" Princess Kirathel's skin patterns began to brighten. "And the answer that every question seeks is that we're not alone," Jake finished. "We're all here together, looking at the same stars, asking the same questions." The princess smiled, which Jake had never seen a Zephyrian do before. "The point where all paths meet is understanding." The silver-marked elder made the approval humming sound. "The riddle of the eternal question has been solved. The third trial is complete." General Vorthak stepped forward. His skin patterns were still dark, but he looked confused rather than angry. "The human has passed all three trials. This has never happened before." "Because the trials were never meant for an alien," said another elder. "But Captain Miller succeeded by thinking like a human while respecting our ways." Princess Kirathel stood up. "The soul witness bond has been proven real. Captain Miller and I are connected by something stronger than species or culture." The crowd of watching Zephyrians began humming in approval. Even some of General Vorthak's soldiers seemed impressed, but Jake noticed that the general himself was not humming. Instead, he was talking quietly into a communication device. Princess, Jake said, I think we may have a new problem. Before anyone could ask what he meant, alarms began sounding throughout the palace. A guard ran into the courtyard. "Ships approaching," the guard shouted. "Human warships, many of them." Commander Torres's voice came through Jake's communication device. "Captain Miller, this is an emergency. Admiral Ryan Blake has arrived with a fleet. He's demanding that you and the princess surrender immediately." Jake looked at Princess Kira Thel. They had just proven their connection was real, but now they faced a threat that could destroy everything they had worked for. "It seems," the princess said calmly, "that our real trial is just beginning." The Zephyrian palace shook as human warships entered the atmosphere. Jake looked up at the sky and saw 6 large military vessels surrounded by smaller fighter ships. He recognized the design. These were Earth Defense Force ships, built for war, not peace. Admiral Blake, Jake said to himself. He knew the name. Admiral Ryan Blake was known for believing that humans should control other species, not work with them as equals. Princess Kirathel's skin patterns turned bright red, which Jake had learned meant anger or fear. "Captain Miller, are those ships here to help you or to stop you?" "I think they're here to stop me," Jake said honestly. General Vorthak stepped forward. His own soldiers had surrounded the courtyard, weapons ready. "I told the council that humans could not be trusted." "This proves it." "Wait," Jake said. "These ships don't represent all humans, just like your general doesn't represent all Zephyrians." The silver-marked elder raised her hand for silence. "We must understand what is happening before we act." Jake's communication device came alive with voices. Commander Torres was trying to reach him from the USS Liberty. "Captain Miller, respond immediately. Admiral Blake is demanding to speak with you." "Put him through," Jake said. A new voice filled the courtyard through Jake's device. It was deep and harsh. "Captain Miller, this is Admiral Blake. You are in violation of direct orders from Earth Command." "What orders?" Jake asked. "I was sent here to make peace." "Your mission has been terminated," the Admiral said. "New intelligence suggests that the Zephyrians are planning to attack human colonies. You are to return to your ship immediately and surrender the alien princess for questioning." Jake looked at Princess Kirathel. Her large eyes showed confusion and hurt. "Is this true?" she asked. "Do your people think we would attack you?" "Some do," Jake said. "But I don't believe it." General Vorthak laughed, but it was not a happy sound. "The humans show their true nature. First they send spies, then they send warriors." "I'm not a spy," Jake said firmly, "and Admiral Blake doesn't speak for all humans." Admiral Blake's voice came through the device again. "Captain Miller, you have 1 hour to comply. If you refuse, we will consider you and your crew to be prisoners of an enemy force." The communication ended. Jake felt the eyes of everyone in the courtyard looking at him. He had to make a choice that could affect both species forever. Dr. Carter and Ben Murphy had come down from the balcony. They stood near Jake, ready to support whatever decision he made. "Captain," Dr. Carter said quietly, "there's something you need to know. I've been monitoring communications. Admiral Blake didn't come here because of new intelligence." "What do you mean?" "The medical research we've been doing with the Zephyrians has produced amazing results. The enzyme that saved young Crixtel could revolutionize human medicine. I think Blake wants to control that technology." Jake felt anger growing in his chest. "So, this isn't about security. It's about money and power." "It often is," Princess Kirathel said sadly. "Among my people, too." General Vorthak was listening to everything. Suddenly, his skin patterns changed from dark red to bright orange. Jake didn't know what orange meant, but it looked important. "Princess," the general said, "my scouts report that the human ships are preparing to attack our defense platforms." "That's impossible," Jake said. "Humans wouldn't start a war over this." "Wouldn't they?" General Vorthak asked. "You claim to understand us, human, but do you really understand your own species?" Before Jake could answer, explosions lit up the sky. The human ships were indeed firing, but not at the planet. They were destroying Zephyrian satellites and communication arrays. Princess Kira Thell's skin patterns began changing rapidly through many colors. Jake realized she was not just angry or afraid. She was getting sick. "What's wrong?" he asked. Dr. Carter checked the princess with her medical scanner. Her molting cycle is being disrupted by stress. If this continues, it could kill her. "How long does she have?" Jake asked. "I don't know. Maybe hours, maybe days, but we need to reduce her stress levels immediately." Jake made his decision. "Ben, get to the USS Liberty. Tell Commander Torres to prepare for emergency departure. Dr. Carter, stay with the princess. I'm going to talk to Admiral Blake." "Captain, that's too dangerous," Ben said. "Maybe. But it's the only way to stop this before people start dying." Jake turned to General Vorthak. "General, I know you don't trust me, but I'm going to prove that not all humans are like Admiral Blake." "How?" the general asked. "By stopping him." Jake contacted Admiral Blake directly. "Admiral, this is Captain Miller. I'm coming up to your ship to discuss terms." "You'll surrender the princess?" Blake asked. "I'll discuss terms," Jake repeated. An hour later, Jake stood in the command center of Admiral Blake's flagship. The admiral was a large man with gray hair and cold eyes. Around him stood other officers who looked like they had never questioned an order in their lives. "Captain Miller," Blake said, "you've caused quite a mess down there." "I've made first contact with a peaceful species," Jake replied. "Peaceful?" Blake laughed. "They have weapons that could destroy entire human worlds. We can't let them keep that technology." "So you're planning to steal it?" "I'm planning to protect humanity," Blake said, "by any means necessary." Jake looked around the command center. He could see Earth through the ship's windows, so far away it was just a blue dot. "Is this really what humanity has become? We meet new friends and immediately try to rob them?" "Friends?" Blake's voice got louder. "These insects nearly killed you with their barbaric rituals. Now you're defending them?" "They saved my life," Jake said, "and I saved one of theirs. That's what friends do." "You're being naive, Miller. The princess has brainwashed you somehow." Jake felt his patience running out. "Admiral, Princess Kira Thell is dying because of the stress your attack has caused. If she dies, any chance of peace dies with her." "Good," Blake said simply. "One less alien to worry about." That was too much for Jake. "You're wrong, Admiral, and I'm going to prove it." "How?" "You're on my ship, surrounded by my crew. You have no power here." Jake smiled. "I have something better than power. I have friends." At that moment, alarms started sounding throughout Admiral Blake's ship. The lights flickered and several control panels sparked. "What's happening?" Blake shouted. An officer checked his instruments. "Sir, our computer systems are being hacked. Someone is taking control of our weapons and navigation." Through the command center's communication system came a familiar voice. It was Ben Murphy, calling from the USS Liberty. "Admiral Blake, this is Lieutenant Murphy. Our ship's computer specialist has just shown your fleet something interesting. We've downloaded all your communications for the past month. Earth Command never ordered you to attack the Zephyrians. You came here without permission. Blake's face turned red. That's classified information. Not anymore, Ben continued. We're broadcasting everything to Earth Command and to every news station in human space. The truth about your real mission is now public knowledge. Jake looked at Blake with satisfaction. Admiral, meet human ingenuity. We don't just fight with weapons. We fight with truth. More voices came through the communication system. Other ship captains in Blake's fleet were demanding answers. Several ships began moving away from the planet. Captain Miller, came Dr. Carter's voice. Princess, Kirathel's condition is getting worse. We need that enzyme from your medical supplies to stabilize her. Jake looked at Admiral Blake. Admiral, you have a choice. You can continue this illegal attack and become known as the man who started the first interstellar war. Or you can help, save the princess and become the man who helped secure peace. Blake stared at Jake for a long moment. Around them, his command crew waited for orders. Finally, Blake spoke. Computer, prepare a medical transport. Load all available enzyme supplies. Sir, asked one of his officers. You heard me, Blake said quietly. We're going to save the alien princess. As the medical supplies were sent down to the planet, Jake realized that the real victory was not in stopping Admiral Blake. It was in showing him that humans could be better than their fears. Admiral, Jake said, when we get back to Earth, I want you to meet some people. I want you to understand what we're really fighting for. Blake nodded slowly. Maybe it's time I learned something new. But as Jake prepared to return to the planet, he knew that the biggest challenge was still ahead. Princess Kirathel was dying, and he had to find a way to save her. The fate of two species still hung in the balance. Jake rushed back to the palace with the medical supplies. Princess Kirathel was in the Royal Medical Center, lying on a bed that glowed with soft blue light. Her skin patterns were changing rapidly between many colors, and she looked very weak. Dr. Carter was working with Zephyrian doctors to understand the princess's condition. The enzyme is helping, she told Jake, but something else is wrong. Her body is rejecting the new skin that should be growing. What does that mean? Jake asked. In simple terms, she's stuck between her old self and her new self. The stress has confused her body's natural molting process. General Vorthak stood in the corner of the room. His skin patterns were darker than Jake had ever seen them. If the princess dies, he said quietly, my people will blame the humans. There will be war. Jake looked at the princess. Even sick, she was beautiful. Her large eyes were closed, but he could see her breathing was difficult. There has to be something we can do, Jake said. An old Zephyrian doctor spoke up. There is one possibility, but it has never been tried. What is it? Dr. Carter asked. The soul witness bond, the doctor explained. In our oldest stories, when one soul witness was dying, the other could share their life force to save them. How? Jake asked. By completing the molting process together. But this would mean the human would have to undergo a partial molting himself. Dr. Carter looked worried. That sounds very dangerous. Human biology is completely different from Zephyrian biology. It is dangerous, agreed the Zephyrian doctor, but it might be the only way. Jake did not hesitate. Tell me what I need to do. Captain, General Vorthak said, if this kills you, it will make things worse, not better. If I don't try, Jake replied, the princess will die anyway. And you're right. That will mean war. The Zephyrian doctor began preparing a special chamber next to the princess's bed. The process requires both soul witnesses to be in a state of complete trust and openness. You must let go of your human defenses and allow your mind to connect with hers. Dr. Carter checked her medical equipment. I'll monitor both of you. If your vital signs become too dangerous, we'll stop the process. Jake lay down in the chamber next to Princess Kirathel. The Zephyrian doctors covered him with a gel that felt warm and tingly on his skin. Close your eyes, the old doctor said. Think only of the connection you share with the princess. Jake closed his eyes and tried to remember the moment when he had first seen Princess Kirathel. He had been surprised, but he had also felt something else, a sense that this meeting was important, even though he didn't understand why. Slowly, Jake began to feel strange. His skin started to tingle and feel loose, like it didn't quite fit anymore. He could sense Princess Kirathel's presence in his mind, weak, but still there. In his thoughts, he could hear her voice. Captain Miller, why are you doing this? Because it's right, he answered in his mind, because you saved my understanding of what it means to be human. I don't understand. You showed me that being human isn't about being the strongest or the smartest. It's about choosing to help, even when it's difficult. Jake felt his connection with the princess growing stronger. He could sense her fear and pain, but also her curiosity and hope. Your people and mine have made mistakes, Jake continued, but we can learn from each other. We can be better together than we are apart. The princess's mental voice became clearer. The soul witness bond is real, isn't it? Yes, Jake said, but not in the way your laws describe it. It's not about marriage or romance. It's about two people who understand each other completely. Like brother and sister? Like family, Jake agreed. The best kind of family. The kind you choose. Jake felt something changing in his body. His skin was actually beginning to shed, just like the princess's. But instead of feeling frightening, it felt natural. Dr. Carter's voice came from far away. Both patients are stabilizing. The process is working. Hours passed. Jake drifted in and out of consciousness, always aware of Princess Kirathel's presence beside him. They shared memories, thoughts, and feelings. Jake saw Zephyria through her eyes, a beautiful world full of crystal cities and ancient wisdom. The princess saw Earth through Jake's memories, blue oceans, green forests, and billions of humans all trying to find their place in the universe. When Jake finally woke up, he felt different. His skin looked normal, but it felt new and more sensitive. Princess Kirathel was sitting up in her bed looking healthy and strong. How do you feel? Dr. Carter asked Jake. Different, he said honestly, but good. Princess Kirathel smiled. The bond is complete now. We are connected in a way that goes beyond species. General Vorthak approached Jake's bed. His skin patterns had changed to bright blue, which Jake somehow now understood meant respect and admiration. Captain Miller, the general said, I owe you an apology. You have proven that humans can be trusted with the most precious things we have. Jake sat up slowly. General, I hope I've proven that our species can trust each other. The silver-marked elder entered the medical center with other council members. Captain Miller, Princess Kirathel, the High Council has reached a decision. What decision? The princess asked. The soul witness bond between human and Zephyrian has created something new. We propose to establish a permanent alliance between our species, with you two as the first ambassadors. Jake looked at Princess Kirathel. "What do you think?" "I think," she said, "that this is what the soul-witness bond was always meant to create. Not just a connection between two people, but a bridge between two worlds." A few weeks later, Jake stood in the same courtyard where he had taken the trial of understanding. But now it looked different. Human and Zephyrian engineers were working together to build a new kind of building, one designed for both species to use comfortably. Dr. Carter had been appointed as the head of joint medical research. The enzyme exchange was already helping both humans and Zephyrians live healthier lives. Ben Murphy was training the first group of human Zephyrian security teams. It turned out that the two species' different strengths made them very effective partners. Admiral Blake had returned to Earth, where he faced questions about his unauthorized mission. But he had also become an unexpected supporter of the Alliance, telling other military leaders about the potential benefits of cooperation instead of conquest. Princess Kirathel found Jake watching the construction work. "Do you ever regret walking into that room?" she asked. Jake thought about it. "No. Making that mistake was the best thing I ever did. Even though it changed your entire life, especially because it changed my life. I learned that sometimes the most important moments come from accidents." The princess's skin patterns showed the warm colors that Jake now knew meant happiness and contentment. "My people have a saying, the soul finds its path even when the mind is lost." "That's a good saying," Jake said. "I think I was lost for a long time, until I found my path here." "And what is your path now?" Jake looked around the courtyard, watching humans and Zephyrians working together. "To help build something new. Something that shows the universe that different species can be family." Princess Kirathel nodded. The soul-witness bond was never about two people becoming the same. It was about two different people becoming stronger, together. As the sun set over the Zephyrian capital, Jake realized that his accidental intrusion had led to something amazing. Not just peace between two species, but proof that understanding could overcome any difference. He thought about Young, Crixtel, who was now healthy and playing with both human and Zephyrian children. He thought about Dr. Carter's research, which would save countless lives. He thought about all the friendships that were forming between two very different kinds of people. "Princess," Jake said, "I have a question." "What question?" "Your room that day. Did I really get lost? Or did someone make sure I would find you?" Princess Kirathel's skin patterns shifted to colors Jake had never seen before. After a moment, she smiled in the way that only Zephyrians could smile. "Captain Miller," she said, "some questions are more interesting when they remain mysteries." Jake laughed. "I think I can live with that mystery." As they walked back toward the palace, Jake thought about how much had changed since that embarrassing moment weeks ago. He had been trying to save one life and had ended up helping to create a new future for billions of lives. Sometimes, Jake realized, the best discoveries came not from careful planning, but from honest mistakes handled with courage and kindness. And sometimes, the most important doors were the ones you opened by accident. The soul-witness bond had taught both species something valuable. That connection was not about being the same, but about choosing to understand and protect each other's differences. And in a universe full of unknown species and unexplored worlds, that lesson would serve them all very well.